Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name's Lon Risley, host of the show. How you doing? Apologies for interrupting your evening or whenever you happen to watch this. I just felt like hopping on and talking. Mainly because of me, but also because on a tertiary basis it's being brought to my attention that other people are kind of going through it at the moment anyway. So I thought I'd I guess talk about my own experiences a little bit, or to the extent that I can, and also maybe offer some advice. One of the things that I base a lot of my philosophy on as a man, as a human being in my mid-30s now, is I've made a lot of mistakes. I've also made a lot of repeated mistakes, because you sometimes trick yourself into thinking that by just repeating the action, but with more veracity or more passion, or even maybe on the opposite, more of a disdain or more of a disparity between how you really feel and how you want people to feel, you can overcome certain problems. So instead I thought I'd, like I say, jump on because just personally, it's not a great time at the moment, I must be honest with you. There's a variety of personal problems that I'm trying to navigate and deal with. There's a couple of professional problems, a couple of financial issues, like with everybody else at the moment, and just, I guess, spiritually, not from a religious perspective, but sometimes, you're searching for some wider meaning or context for why you. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, but it sometimes feels like the bad things in life just sort of queue up and wait their turn, and then when it's time, they all just rush the door, and it's difficult to kind of pull up. I guess what I'm saying here is that what I see a lot of people do is they act out, or they have a visceral reaction to certain things, or they amend themselves, they change themselves. And one of the things that I wanted to say, and I also understand that there's a mental advocacy, I think it's a month or day or something like that, where it makes reference to men's health in particular and the suicide rates that men these days seem to be more susceptible to. It's difficult, man. For a guy at the moment, it's difficult because we live in a time where being a provider, being a good man, being in physical shape, being you kind of have to do everything really well to get any kudos. And that's hard. I've long maintained a philosophy that we really need to rethink how we approach things, generally speaking, in terms of just appreciating the basics and common decency and just the good in people more than we do. Instead of it just being an expectation, we've kind of veered away from it now, where that is sort of the baseline and anything worse can be excused. And it makes, at least for me anyway, it gives me a very futile feeling. Even something as simple as just trying to navigate a commute to work, for instance, trying to let people out, try to be mindful of who's coming, who's what, maybe someone struggling across the road, all this other stuff. And that need to be good being quashed makes me feel very anxious. It makes me feel very annoyed, frustrated, angry. It makes me want to do something. And the advice I want to offer people when it comes to dealing with your mental health in particular, when you're faced with feelings of panic, anxiety, a sense of hopelessness, is to try and focus inward and control what it is that is going to make you happy, in so much as you need to kind of trace it back. At least in my experience, I've told this story before, I think, at least in person, to a few of my friends, but I don't know if I've ever spoken about it publicly on a broadcast. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was 21.5 stone, something like that, 21.7 stone, something like that. I was penniless month to month. I was living on about £40 for food, basically, after all my expenses, and didn't have a car, and I lived 17 miles away from work, so I cycled to work every day, and worked 6 days a week, 10, 11 hours a day just to try and keep a roof over my head and kids fed and all the rest of that jazz. And then the pandemic hit. Now, that was a revelation for me, because what it allowed me to do is to just basically tear everything down and reevaluate what I thought I needed to do as a person to be happy. And it started with my weight, started with just my general health, which then led into confidence in just me self-evaluating and deciding what's good for me, rather than judging my worth and my value based on the perceptions and the validation, more importantly, of other people. As a matter of fact, that's kind of carried over to this day. I can't really make any real progress as a person if anyone's watching. I kind of have to do things behind the scenes in order to feel like I have the time and the patience that I can afford myself, rather than what you find with weight loss in particular. I know a lot of people struggle with this when they start. You know, the strain and struggle you have to put on yourself to make any tangible progress is so immense, especially if you're unfit and you're trying to get fit, but no one notices. Like, no one gives you any kudos. No one gives you any props for just doing the right thing. They want to see a result. They want to see your physique straight away. They want to see you running 10 miles straight away. And that just doesn't happen. We don't support people when they're going through it on a consistent enough basis. What we tend to do is we offer our support at the beginning when we hear someone's going through it. You know, I'm here if you need me. And we kind of treat that as, well, it's on them now. They've got to come and help me. They've got to ask for my help. But what you find is, at least this is with me, I hate burdening people with my problems, man. I hate doing that stuff. I really, really do. I'll also say that as far as the idea that men need to speak up, they need to talk to each other, they need to check on each other. I understand that, but I also understand that it's an embarrassing thing. Even if we want to try and destigmatize men talking about their problems, like, I don't like admitting when I'm struggling. And I must be honest with you, I don't feel a lot of support in any avenue when I have problems. The only times I've ever been able to pull out of tailspins in my life is when I looked at myself and I decided, right, I need to make these changes for me. I'm not going to compromise on these changes. I'm not going to justify these changes to anybody else but me, because I know myself. I know my mind. I know what it's going to take. But that was a journey of self-discovery that took probably 3 or 4 years. It took a long time. And for younger people, or people that are used perhaps to a more social balance of support, it's a hard piece of advice to take, because what you really want is for everyone to kind of run behind you and push you and guide you and support you and encourage you. I don't know how many people really are privy to that level of support, though. I certainly never was, not through any fault of the people around me necessarily, but I just found that in those quiet moments when I was by myself, it was really, really hard to just pick up the phone and say to someone, I really am struggling right here. Because you can do it once, but it's not a one-time, like, struggling is something that happens a lot. And when you're struggling, it's not like you're out of it. You're almost in it for a bit. And when it comes to mental health advocacy, I see a lot of platitudes and I see a lot of good vibes and all that stuff. I don't know how helpful a lot of it is. I certainly never found it all that helpful. I always found it more helpful for someone to dig into, what I thought needed to be done to address the problem in real terms, rather than address my feelings in the moment, which is symptomatic of things that are feeding into it. I need to look at, right, am I dissatisfied with my earning? How much I'm earning? Am I dissatisfied with my living situation? Am I just dissatisfied with the control and the where my life is going? And what I want to tell people is that it's perfectly okay to have that conversation with yourself and make determinations and decisions based on that and not compromise on it. Because I think that a lot of times we make decisions based on the validation of other people or the support of other people. I'm sorry to say this, man. No one's really going to be around all that much. I see very little evidence, and maybe your life is different to mine. I see very little evidence of sustained support in any avenue of life these days. At least it's very, very rare. I don't see loyalty being paraded around as a particularly valuable asset in people. I'm loyal to a fucking fault, man. And I can tell you that loyalty has never been rewarded in any tangible way. As soon as I became disposable to people, I was disposed of. And that's not necessarily anyone's fault. That's probably more my fault for not recognizing the rules of the game. And I'll tell you also right now, and this is why I think this is kind of a controversial thing to say, rather than what I think a lot of people would rightly say, which is pick up your phone, call your friends. No, I'm telling you to look at yourself and make a decision and be strong. Decide to be strong. Decide that this is enough and that you're going to make a change. I'll tell you for why. I am not a particularly willful person. I am not a particularly strong mental, physical, spiritual person. I lost the weight. I got the job. I got the living situation. And it was all just down to having that conversation with myself and just deciding nothing's going to stop me. And you kind of have to hit a fuck it moment. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be a period, and this was 18 months. I'm going to make that clear. That period of time was 18 months from start to finish. It wasn't 3 months. It wasn't 6 weeks. Any of this fucking overnight bullshit. It was 18 months of every day fixated, focused, obsessed with the prospect of being better. And knowing that I was going to get there sooner or later. Just deciding it. And this is why it's hard, because you kind of have to convince yourself. It's not something anyone's going to tell you. You can buy into stuff as much as you want, but your internal truth is always going to overrule what anyone else ever tells you. You'll always be more honest with yourself than you'll ever be with anybody else. It's all well and good saying you're going to go on a diet, and then at 11 o'clock at night, men, especially after a long training session at those beginnings when your body's not acclimated and you're used to eating when you feel down, or you're used to eating when you're bored, trust me, unless you're truthful with yourself, you'll do it. And that's why I wouldn't necessarily just hang it all on weight training or advocate for fitness, because that's my vice. It's the way I make myself feel better. It's also the way I gain confidence. It's also the way I assert myself in the world. Just a physical presence on the world helps me feel like I'm able to move into any situation and at least be regarded on the same level as anybody else. Intellectually, I always have problems with maintaining. As a gentleman I interviewed, Carl Anker, and I'll share this with you now because he'll never see it, bless him. I feel intellectually inferior. It's difficult for me to maintain conversations with some people because it's so hard to feel like you're on their level, conversation sense. On an emotional level, like, I'll also share this with you. When I go to work, I see everyone being very socially accepting of other people, but utilizing behaviors that I know are not necessarily genuine. I'm not really prepared to be a facsimile of myself. I have to be myself around everybody at all times, because otherwise I get really annoyed with myself. It's also the reason why I think I can find it easier being honest on camera like this, speak from the heart, than most people, because they want to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And when it comes to mental health, my friends, mental health is something that starts and stops with you, because you make the choice to either be a product of your environment or you make the environment a product of you. It starts with how you carry yourself, what you are and aren't prepared to tolerate from other people, and what sacrifices you're prepared to make. Because unfortunately, this is the other thing that no one ever really tells people when they want to lose weight, get a new job, make changes in their lives that are going to pay dividends down the road. It all involves sacrifice. It all involves a degree of pain. And if you're wondering why you're stuck in a situation over and over again that's constantly making you feel down or depressed or not yielding the results that you want, it's more than likely because you've not made the necessary sacrifice. I'm just going to take a second to say, by the way, thank you, Michael, and thank you, Albo, for both of you for tuning in. You'll forgive me for not stopping mid-flow more soon. I just wanted to make sure I carried on my tangent. Because, sorry, the reason for all this is because I don't know if a lot of what I'm seeing on the internet, via social media, and in person is really all that helpful when and I'm not saying this to brag, when people saw me after the pandemic, they were genuinely shocked at how I was different, not just physically, but in my demeanor. And recently, I have to be honest with you here as well, I've taken my eyes off the ball in a lot of those respects. I've done a lot to try and placate a lot of different people. I worked myself to death at work, for instance, and that frustrated me in the way that that was treated, and rather how that was received and appreciated, in so much as I don't believe that it was. My weight training fell off because I decided to dedicate more time to this and to my family. And I'm not saying that wasn't worth it, but I am saying, though, that affects how I see myself. It also affects how they see me, because I wasn't prepared to make the necessary investment in myself and be selfish in ways that is necessary. And that's the one last little thing, is selfishness is fine in certain aspects. It's not in others. Like, being selfish with your feelings in a relationship, I think, is toxic. Fuck people that get into relationships and then gaslight, ghost, orbit, or otherwise disregard how the other person feels, okay? If you're that kind of person, I sincerely hope you get hit by a car and debilitated, because you're the worst kind of person. You're the kind of person that makes people question every single fucking fiber of their life for no other reason than that's how you get your kicks, and fuck you. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that will never see this, but God, I hope karma or some other mystical bullshit finds its way to you in that situation. But the point of selfishness in this situation is being selfish enough for me to say, for instance, I can't go out to eat. I can't go out. I can't have a beer. I can't have a fizzy drink, because that's going to fuck with my weight training. And I'm not there yet. When I get there, I'll be happy to rein it in. But right now, you don't know how much I have to fucking go through to train and eat and sleep correctly in order to go where I need to go. And when I tell people, man, they're not prepared to go on that journey. I'll tell you right now, I have, again, this is all in the aid of trying to get mental health, by the way. I'm not just saying this, again, I'm not trying not to be braggadocious, or I'm not, and this isn't even me trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just telling you how I found my balance, or rather how I'm trying to reestablish my balance. I have my breakfast in the morning, I have a cup of coffee, I'll do some work, I'll then train around midday, get some more food in, and that'll be pretty much it as far as food is concerned for the rest of the day. Then we focus on more work, then we have a bit of playtime, then we do another training session in the evening, and then we have the evening to ourselves. And it depends on like how much time I've got left, how much energy I've got. Right now, as you can probably tell, I'm ill, so my training is taking a hit. Now that's massively frustrating to me, but you offset it. Okay, you balance it. Again, the idea is to try and rein in these extreme feelings, rein in these needs to react and lash out at the world, or to be passive and just take it. I'm not prepared to compromise on certain things at the moment, whereas before I was. And so with everybody who sees this, here's what I would ask that you do when it comes to maintaining a balanced mental health. I'm not talking about walking around on the fucking sky, oh yeah, everything's great and fantastic, and everyone's else's life sucks by mine. No, I'm not telling you that. I'm also telling you not to be the victim all the time. I understand life has a way, like, and trust me on this. Trust me when I say I know life has a way of conga lining, kicking you in the dick sometimes. Trust me. At the moment, like I said, I've got personal issues, I've got professional issues, I've got financial issues, and I happen to be ill. On top of being out of shape and overweight and deeply unfit right now. There's not a lot of fucking blue sky here, folks. But I don't post a lot about it these days. I certainly don't post my training right now, because these are my problems. I have to own them and deal with them. And also, I have to accept that in order to own and deal with them, I have to make certain sacrifices. One of the sacrifices is time, because it takes time to train. One of the other things is comfort, because trust me, man, I'm walking around pretty uncomfortable most of the time if the keto's not kicking my ass because of a lack of energy. The training is kicking my ass because I'm trying to train more in terms of sustainability. When it comes to financial, you've got to look at what you're prepared to do. If you need more money, it stands to reason you've got to earn more money. It might mean making certain compromises in terms of where you live, how you work, when you work, who you see, when you see them. As far as personal issues, it can be something as simple as making the choice to kind of... I would never, by the way, advocate what I do. I isolate. When I'm going through problems, I have a bad tendency of isolating myself. For no other reason than like I said, it feels embarrassing feeling this way. It feels embarrassing walking into a room and feeling like you make their day worse. It feels embarrassing when people message you to say something to the effect of, how you doing, man? Is everything good? And all you have to say is, nah, man, I ain't got nothing positive to say. And I've got to be honest with you, I don't want to hear fucking no positive shit from you either. And that's how you feel. You can't help how you feel. This is the other thing a lot of these mental health advocates, they don't encourage you to express this frustration. Because this is the other thing, man. I feel like while you're dealing with a lot of this stuff, it's perfectly fine to admit how you feel. It's in fact, I'd argue it's imperative to be able to express how you feel, because again, that's another one of those aspects of control that you feel you need to be able to regain. You need to be able to feel validated and vindicated, expressing exactly how you feel, but then not letting that define who you are now and what you will be. I feel disgusting and overweight. Right, I'm going to train. I feel like I don't have the financial fluidity, or at least the ability to be able to do what I want to do on a regular basis. Right, I need to look at my job situation and decide, right, do I need more overtime? Do I need to push for a promotion? Do I need to look at maybe sideswiping into a different role? All this other stuff. In terms of personal issues, sometimes it is a case of showing up and just socializing. I've got to tell you, man, one of the best things that I can tell you to do when you're really struggling with your life, and it might seem antithetical, take an interest in other people's. Like, ask them how they're doing, and if there's something that you can sense that they don't want to talk about because they're afraid or they're worried about the embarrassment that they may feel or the lack of validation they might receive, man, there's no greater fucking superpower in this world than letting someone know it's okay. Talk to me. If you want to just rant, if you just want to get something off your chest, just express something, I'm here. Trust me, man, that's the sort of thing that will sit with people forever. They'll remember that shit for the rest of their lives. I know it has for me. I know plenty of people have set aside time for me in a lot of different circumstances and situations where I really didn't expect it, and God bless them for it. And like I said, just be honest with yourself and be ready to make sacrifices. Life has a very, very good habit, or rather a well-practiced habit of putting you in a position and keeping you there. And for some people, that's fine. Some people are happy to stay in the positions they're in for a very long time, making very little changes and coasting. With me, for instance, and this might just be me, it might not be you, or it might be you, I have habits where I'll kind of circle upwards, and then life and karma and all that shit, and I start to cycle back downwards. And I'm on one of those downward spirals now. But unlike years gone past where I kind of consign myself by saying I deserve this, or who cares, or any of this sort of stuff, I care. I want a good life. I want to be happy. I want to be fit. I want to be confident. I want to be assertive. I want to have everything how I want it to be. And I'm prepared to accept that that's not how things are now, but not how they'll be, because I'm convinced that they won't be. And so things like this show, convinced one day I will get that motherfucking Shotty Horror interview. Convinced one day that my show will do more good for a guest that I have on than me. Right now, it's clearly the other way. My guests do me massive favors by appearing, giving their insights and then lending their name to the show. One day, I will have someone on, and my show will do more for them than it does for me. Fucking, I'll be so ecstatic when that day happens. I'm going to get in shape, and I'm going to sort out my financial situation. I'm going to be earning all the money that I need to earn. And personally, again, man, it's going to be that's probably the hardest one for me. Very prideful person. I tend to stick to my convictions. I relate to CM Punk in a lot this way, because I imagine this is the same problem he has, because I seem to have it. I feel like I either constantly piss people off or they piss me off. I very rarely feel secure in my relationships and in my standing with my friends and family and people around me. I just constantly feel like there's this push-pull, like my perception is very hard to nail down, and the only way to get around that is to divorce yourself entirely from it and just be confident in what you're doing is the right thing. by yourself and by others around you. I've always said the same thing. Everyone has the right to pursue their own happiness so long as that pursuit does not infringe upon the happiness of others. Me training, looking for more lucrative opportunities as a person, more personal opportunities to try and, feel validated in my own life. None of this hurts anybody, so I have every right to pursue it. And so do you. And I'm going to bring this back to whoever may watch this video, because it's really more for you than it is for me, because I have my methodology now. I have my pattern that I know works. And it's difficult for me to say, because I never recorded my progress. That's the thing. No one ever really believes me when I say, yeah, I lost 8 stone in a year, moved house, earned about $5,000 more within the space of 18 months, and basically turned my entire life around. And it was just a decision I made. Just a decision. Do you know what? I've had enough of this shit. I'm a win for a little while. Recently, for whatever reason, I decided to start losing. And it was a mistake. And I've decided to start winning. Now, you don't win straight away. You have to make some sacrifices. So, if anyone's watching this, I wish I had better tidings for the immediate future if you decide to make a change in your life as a result of being in a shitty situation. Because, unfortunately, as with struggling through anything, you're going to have to wade out of the shit for a little while. And you're still going to be covered in shit for a little while, even when you're out of the shit. However, one day, like with a breakup, right? This is the best piece of advice I ever heard from anybody. When you break up with someone you really love, okay? Or you're in a really tough situation, really depressed, really down, really just fucking beset by all of life's fucking woes, right? One thing I want you to remember is one day, it might be a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, you'll wake up and not realize that you're depressed anymore. You just won't. You just go about your day like normal. And then sometime after that, oh wait, I'm fine. Fuck, that happened. Don't look for there to be that crystallizing moment. It's not a moment where it hits you. It's not love at first sight. But one day, you'll wake up and go, oh fuck, it happened to me. Happened to me in this very room, as a matter of fact, about 2 years ago. I woke up, rolled out of bed, patted myself on the stomach. I looked at my phone and I went, do you know what? This is the first time in a long time. I don't need to be anywhere immediately this morning because I don't have a million miles to cycle. I feel fine. I don't feel quite so beat up from training because my body's starting to heal. And actually, I feel quite light. Like, weigh myself, 13.5. Wow, I'm really light. Check the old bank account. Man, I could buy those new shoes I've been looking at. I could never afford to do it. Fucking hell. I think I'm all right. And that's the thing, man. A lot of this hokey bullshit about just feel better or feel positive, man, or positive. I'm sorry, I got nothing for you. And as far as talking to other people, you can talk to other people about your problems all you want. They can offer you solutions. Only you can actually do anything about a solution. So I would counsel you, as much as life feels like it's against you sometimes, and as much as you might think that life wants you to lose, I want you to know, not think, and don't think I'm just saying this as platitudey bullshit, because again, I've lived this shit. I've fucking lived it. You can decide to win. And you can decide to make the sacrifices and put in the effort necessary to get to where you want to be. I'm not promising you, oh, what colour's your spaghetti, bro? Because that's fucking bullshit. You need to be your own fucking source of strength. You need to be the own arbiter and the own harbinger of your own happiness. That's tough, but it is 100% necessary and 100% doable. I'm not talking about just in fitness terms. I'm not talking about you're going to earn 10. I can't tell you what will make you happy. You can tell yourself what's going to make you happy so long as you're willing to be honest with yourself and be realistic about how long that might take or what it might take. So long as you do that, you'll be absolutely fine. And so with that, 30 minutes gone of rambling incoherently, I want to say thank you very much for joining me on this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name's been Lorne Risley. I promise you my life isn't actually that bad. These are problems that will come and they will go. Life is short. Time is precious. It's not all meant to be good, but god damn it, it's meant to have its fucking highlights. So make as many of those fucking highlights and moments that you can look back on with fondness and with reverence as you possibly can. And know, and I'll say this right now, if anyone who's watched this has had any problems or wants to talk, my fucking DMs are open on Twitter, man. Just hit me up on Twitter. Leave me a comment below. I'm happy to listen to whatever's going on. Alright? If I can do any good from this channel or from this fucking year, if I can do any good by just saying to someone, hey man, if you got something on your mind and you just want to get it off your chest, as long as it's not you're thinking about murdering people, I will report you for that. But if it's just a case of, man, I just can't seem to get ahead, fuck man, on that one I'll say reach out to me. Okay? Don't do what I do and fucking isolate. That is the one thing I would say don't do. Don't fucking isolate yourself. It's not healthy. It's not going to help you. Yeah, don't do that. Make sure you talk. But make sure you have a long conversation with yourself about what you're going to do. Don't wallow. Don't self-pity yourself. No one's rooting for you to win. You should root for yourself to win. And you can. If I can, and I'm a fucking idiot, by the way, you can. So, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you're taking care of yourselves today. And as we enter the winter months, and Christmas starts to rear its fucking head, and making those among us who don't have plans or fucking extended family gatherings to look forward to feel like real unwanted pieces of shit, I want you to know that you are significant, you matter. If you really do believe to no one else, fine, you can say that, it wouldn't be true, but there's one person you owe mattering and being significant to, and it's your fucking self. You are here. You are lucky beyond comprehension that you are here. Make the fucking most of it and fucking decide to win however winning is to you. I'm not saying be a fucking film star or a football star or a social media influencer with 1 million followers. If being happy is just having a place of your own, being moderately fit, and having enough income to be able to go to the goddamn supermarket and buy whatever it is you want off the shelf to feel good that evening while having Netflix on in the background and a couple of messages from a couple of people that care, fuck me, man. You just go after that shit. And if it's greater than that, fucking go after that shit, man. But you are worthy of your own happiness. And never fucking forget that. Yeah? So, there you go. Thanks very much for joining me. Like I said, I sincerely hope you're taking care of yourselves. On the next episode, I hope to have something slightly cheerier to discuss with someone to discuss it with. But yeah, that'll about do it. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you next time. Bye.